Welcome, ghouls and fools, to the least professional music review show, Album Reviews and You. I'm Will, and this time we're stepping into the warped, glitter-soaked world of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. This is a movie I've probably seen, 30, 40, maybe 50 times. I don't know. And I'm still not entirely sure what the hell's going on. Every rewatch feels like being invited to a dinner party where no one explains the theme until halfway through the entree. This isn't just any cult film soundtrack. It's the musical equivalent of being tickled by an alien in high heels. It's camp, chaos, charisma, all in one vinyl sleeve. I'll be walking you through the album track by track, picking apart every shriek, sax solo, fishnet-flavored flourish. Because if you can't overanalyze a glam rock Frankenstein musical in late October, when can you? Alright, the first track is Science Fiction Double Feature. This is where it all begins. Disembodied lips, a slow crawl of opening credits in the movie, and Richard O'Brien whisper singing his way through the B-movie graveyard of his youth. On the soundtrack, stripped of the visuals, it becomes something else entirely, a love letter to atomic age absurdity. It's slow, dreamy, and just self-serious enough to make you wonder if you accidentally stumbled into an NPR special about laser guns. There's something charmingly fragile about this one. Strings are swaying like the soundtrack's trying to take itself seriously, while that lonely saxophone weaves in with the energy of a guy who definitely brought his own smoke machine to the session. The production is thin, but it's perfect, like it's meant to be heard on a transistor radio buried under the seat of a 59 Chevy. I've always felt the movie's version drags a little. Sure, the credits, the lips, and this going somewhere energy. But on vinyl, it's weirdly hypnotic. It draws you into the tone of the album. It's sweet, off-kilter nostalgia with just a hint of menace. It's not trying to be perfect, it's just trying to be strange. It nails that in the first 2 minutes. Alright, the next track is Damn It, Janet. And if Science Fiction Double Feature is the curtain rise, then Damn It, Janet is the aggressively heterosexual tone setter before everything goes delightfully off the rails. Brad and Janet are pure 50s sincerity. He's got a ring, she's got the personality of a mannequin who just discovered modesty, and together they radiate the erotic energy of a Amazon Christmas toy catalog. Barry Bostwick and Susan Sarandon sell it, though. Their voices are so squeaky clean, you can hear the starch in their khakis. The church bells chime, the harmonies sparkle. Every Damn It, Janet feels like it's fighting the urge to turn into a toothpaste jingle. But that's the brilliance. The song is supposed to be unbearable. It's the setup for the greatest tonal ambush in music history. Behind them, you've got the wedding party transforming the scene from a wedding into a funeral. It's like the movie's quietly whispering, "Oh, think this is wholesome? Just wait till the corsets show up." Having seen the movie so many times, I can't hear this track without mentally watching the entire world tilt behind them. The faint suggestion that something unholy is brewing in that church basement. On the album, it's all sugar and no teeth, but you can feel the chaos revving up one Damn It, Janet at a time. The next track is Over at the Frankenstein Place. By the time we hit this one, Brad and Janet have gone from hopelessly devoted to hopelessly lost. The rain's coming down, the car's sputtering like it's on life support, and suddenly, boom, there it is. A castle on a hill that screams, "Don't go in there." Naturally, they go in there. Susan Sarandon opens with that fragile, breathy delivery, and for a second, you can actually feel Janet's fear and curiosity breaking through the bubblegum. Then Barry Bostwick joins in. His voice is steady and pure, like the only Boy Scout left in a world gone glam. And then Richard O'Brien slides in like a vampire uncle crashing karaoke night. The harmonies get thick, the atmosphere turns electric, and suddenly this cute lost couple number becomes something else entirely. Gothic, cinematic, slightly horny maybe? The background vocals are so lush they sound like they were recorded in a cathedral made of vinyl and aluminum. This is where you realize it's not just a parody, it's a full-blown rock opera. The mix is rich, the instrumentation is alive, and even without the visuals, you can feel the lightning strikes. If you close your eyes, you can see the flicker of the castle lights and that first glimpse of a man in heels, waiting to change your life forever. Alright, next track is The Time Warp. Okay, here it is, the one that broke containment. It shows up at weddings and Halloween parties and in every late night bar DJ set. The Time Warp, the anthem of the damned. the joyful nonsense chant of 1,000 fishnets. This track doesn't just begin, it erupts. Richard O'Brien comes barreling in, shouting his lines like a man possessed. And maybe he is. He's the mad scientist hype man. Then Magenta steps in, dripping with sultry menace, and Columbia screeches her verse like someone spiked her cotton candy with Red Bull. It's chaos, but the kind of chaos you want tattooed on your subconscious. Each verse piles on more energy until the chorus is this unstoppable wall of sound. Guitars punching, drums rolling, voices overlapping like the soundtrack itself is doing the dance. By the final chorus, you're not listening to a song anymore, you're part of a ritual. This isn't music, it's an invitation into a cult of weird joy. And that's the magic of it. Time Warp is the bridge between the fake innocence of Damn It Janet and the debauchery to come. It's the sound of a movie kicking open a door and saying, forget what you thought this was, it's party time. Alright, the next song is Sweet Transvestite. And here it is, the moment Tim Curry sachets into our lives and steals the entire movie. Soundtrack included. Sweet Transvestite is a full-blown manifesto, a glitter-drenched introduction to chaos personified. From the very first line, Curry's charisma practically punches through the speakers, wrapping the listener in equal parts allure and danger. You believe every syllable because he owns Frankenfurter in a way that would make any mere mortal tremble at the sight. Musically, this track is a fascinating evolution from the previous 50s-leaning numbers. The rock and roll guitar lines are heavier and more aggressive, nudging the sound into the late 60s glam territory, while the rhythm section keeps a sly, seductive pulse underneath. There's a sort of theatrical swagger to it, like the castle walls themselves are swaying to Curry's rhythms. And let's talk lyrics. I'm just a sweet transvestite, from transsexual to Transylvania. It's outrageous, it's provocative, and it sets a stage for the wild ride to follow. The background vocals, provided by the rest of the ensemble, are subtle but crucial. They create an almost voyeuristic texture. There's a tension in the track that mirrors the movie perfectly. The music teeters between playful, sensual, and slightly menacing. Curry's performance makes it impossible to look away. Even in your headphones, you can almost hear the corsets tightening in real time. By the end, Sweet Transvestite doesn't just introduce the character. It announces the innocence of Brad and Janet's world is over. And the album makes it clear that the castle has its own rules now. The next track is I Can Make You a Man, and just like that, Frank's unveiling his magnum opus, his perfect creation, Rocky. I Can Make You a Man struts in like a Vegas lounge number written by a mad scientist on no sleep and too much glitter. It's all bravado and muscle oil, equal parts show tune and threat. The horns punch through like they're trying to impress the creature into existence, while Curry belts every line with the conviction of a man who absolutely has stitched abs into a corpse before breakfast. It's sleazy, self-aware, and weirdly inspiring, like watching self-help meet body horror. Somewhere between the curling dumbbells and the pelvic thrusts, you almost start believing he can make you a man. Alright, next up is Hot Patootie, Bless My Soul. And now for a sharp left turn. Meatloaf arrives, screaming Hot Patootie, Bless My Soul at the top of his lungs. This one is pure, unrestrained 1950s rock and roll, like a jukebox spat directly into your face by someone who skipped every music theory class ever. It's exuberant, ridiculous, and yes, completely infectious. Think of it as a candy-coated sugar rush right after the intense glamour and drama of Sweet Transvestite. The track is a bit of a roller coaster. Meatloaf's voice careens wildly over a retro rock beat with backing vocals that scream sha-na-na energy. Every repeated Hot Patootie feels like a tiny explosion of joy and absurdity. Sure, it's a little grating if you're listening for technical performance, but that's the point. It's pure, untamed musical fun. Meatloaf's energy contrasts beautifully with Curry's sophistication in the previous track, keeping the album's tonal balance just chaotic enough to hold your attention. By the end, Hot Patootie's done its job. It's short, loud, ridiculous, memorable. Even if the repeated screaming of Hot Patootie gives you sonic whiplash, you can't help but love it. It's the kind of track that proves that Rocky Horror soundtrack isn't just a musical, it's a personality. It's loud, brash, and unapologetically extra. And of course, while Meatloaf is screaming Hot Patootie, bless my soul, this is the perfect spot for this. I've got a sponsor for this show. Yeah, Someone actually knows what this show is and said, you know what? I want my product associated with that. So, without further ado, a word from our sponsor. Bobby's Beef and Bleach Emporium, for all your meat and cleaning fluid needs. Family owned since the accident, and now FDA adjacent. Nothing cleans your plate or your past, quite like Bobby's. Find us at bobbysbnb.com. Bobby's Beef and Bleach Emporium. Anyway, back to the glorious chaos of a transvestite rock opera. Okay, next up is I Can Make You a Man reprise. After the flamboyant chaos of Hot Patootie, Frankenfurter steps back into the spotlight with a brief but oddly hypnotic reprise of I Can Make You a Man. It's a palate cleanser if your palate happens to crave morally questionable science experiments wrapped in a rock beat. The track is short, sweet, slightly campy, reminding the listener of the earlier experiment that birthed Rocky without overstaying its welcome. There's a faint nod to the wedding march near the end, slyly inserted as a guitar solo. It's one of those tiny, clever production flourishes that make the soundtrack feel both theatrical and intentionally playful. Vocally, Curry's delivery is smooth, confident, unflinching. You can almost hear the delight in his voice at how deliciously absurd his own lyrics are. It's a wink to the audience as if he's saying, yes, I am mad. Yes, I am fabulous. And yes, you're going to love every second of it. Alright, the next track is Touch Me. And then Janet finds her voice. Literally. Touch Me is the track where innocence and curiosity collide in a deliciously 50s meets glam rock package. Janet recounts her limited experience with physical affection, but the song transforms her confession into a sultry, teasing number. Magenta and Columbia's detached echoing more from the background adds a sense of playful voyeurism. Musically, the track leans heavily on classic 50s motifs, twangy guitar lines, light rock drums, and playful piano riffs, but there's a modern twist. The occasional warbly synths and layered vocal harmonies give it a slightly off-kilter, otherworldly edge. Janet's voice, breathy and wide-eyed, anchors the song in innocence. The repeated phrase, creature of the night, bouncing between left and right channels feels like an audio nudge, reminding the listener that this isn't just a 50s homage, it's interactive, slightly disorienting experience. Every chorus builds in intensity, creating a tension between Janet's naivety and the seductive, chaotic energy of the castle inhabitants. By the time the song ends, the album has fully immersed you in the sensual, campy heart of Rocky Horror. Janet's journey from innocence to boldness mirrors the album's tonal shift from playful parody to audacious adult extravaganza. It's a key turning point, musically and narratively, and one of those tracks that proves Richard O'Brien's songwriting can be both charmingly ridiculous and surprisingly sophisticated, all in the same breath. The next track is Eddie, and Dr. Scott takes center stage with Eddie, a dirge of rock and rebellion wrapped in tragedy. The song is dark, fast-paced, and dripping with irony. Frankenfurter has already dispatched Eddie, and now we're treated to a posthumous critique of the young rebel's short, wild life. The track combines 50s rock sensibilities with an almost punkish energy. Lyrically, it's a eulogy and a cautionary tale rolled into one. Motorcycles, rock and roll, and marginally illegal behavior are both celebrated and scolded. Dr. Scott narrates Eddie's misadventures with a detached cool, like a teacher recounting a particularly naughty student's escapades. Though in this case, the student's life ended tragically. The music propels the story forward, guitars wailing like the cries of Eddie himself and drums pounding like the heartbeat of a life lived too fast. The next song is Rose Tint My World. After Eddie's tragic rock lament, the album returns to its 50s-inspired, slightly surrealistic rock roots with Rose Tint My World. The song is a suite of voices and personalities colliding in midair. Columbia coos and Betty Boop-style innocence. Rocky boasts of his adolescent horniness. Brad tentatively embraces his newfound allure, and Janet's breathy vocals hint at a burgeoning curiosity and confidence. The track is simultaneously playful, chaotic, and a little horny. A true Rocky Horror signature. Musically, it's a smorgasbord. Medium-tempo rock beats, saxophones squealing, xylophones adding a fairground whimsy, bright horn fanfares with grandeur, Richard O'Brien's layered production makes every vocal shine, creating a carnival-like atmosphere where every character gets a moment to declare their desires and frustrations. It's the album equivalent of a kaleidoscope. It's dizzy, busy, beautiful. Frankenfurter's verses add a darker, more decadent edge, urging the characters and listeners to give yourself up to pleasure and sins of the flesh. By the time we hear "Don't dream it, be it," you feel both assured and further drawn into the chaotic web of the castle's pleasures. And the track crescendos, guitars, drums, and vocals collide into a near orgasmic musical climax. The song ends with Riff Raff's ominous entrance, signaling that the whimsical chaos is about to face reality. The balance of fun and menace is about to tip. The next track is "I'm Going Home," and here we get a rare, almost contemplative moment. Frankenfurter's grandiose chaos pauses for introspection. Tim Curry's vocals are tender, soulful, and surprisingly vulnerable. This bell is an 1870s style reflection. Curry delivers every line with a weight and suggests regret, longing, weariness of a man who's faked God just a little too long. You hear subtle percussion echoing like a heartbeat, underspring from realization, displeasures and indulgences, as entertaining as they are, can't last forever. The next track is Superheroes. Superheroes returns us to grandeur and spectacle, narrating Brad and Janet's transformation and Frankfurter's faltering mission. Brad and Janet's vocals feel tentative yet empowered. They've survived the night, and musically, that evolution is captured perfectly with layered harmonies and soaring guitar lines reminiscent of Pink Floyd. Frank's experiment has failed, the castle's order is shifting, and the characters are emerging from chaos. Richard O'Brien's production here shines. The layering of vocals and instruments give the track cinematic depth, as though the castle itself is narrating its story through sound. There's a sense of reflection, but also anticipation, the calm before the final resolution. Even in the absence of visuals, you can sense the drama of Riff Raff, Magenta, and Columbia asserting their control and Frank's world quietly unraveling. All right, and the final track, Science Fiction Double Feature Reprise. The album closes where it began with a reprise of Science Fiction Double Feature, but now everything feels different. The disembodied lips and whispered B-movie references return, yet this time they carry the weight of chaos that is unfolding. Frank has lost his creature. Brad and Janet have succumbed to the castle's strange gravity and darkness, and Riff Raff, Magenta, and Columbia are already plotting their escape to the distant planet. And there you have it, the complete tour through the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack. From whispered tributes to B-movie classics to Tim Curry's flamboyant manifesto, Meatloaf's rock and roll cameo, and finally the reflective reprise. This album is a masterclass in camp, chaos, and sheer musical audacity. It's unapologetically bizarre, and that's exactly why it works. Whether you're a seasoned Transylvanian or a first-time listener, there's something here to delight, disturb, and entertain. This soundtrack is a perfect companion to the film, but it also stands on its own as a testament to Richard O'Brien, Tim Curry, the entire ensemble's commitment to sequin-drenched absurdity. I rate the Rocky Horror Picture soundtrack 4.5 disembodied lips out of 5. So until next time, keep those stilettos sharp, your sequins sparkling, and your sense of weird firmly intact. Hi, I'm Will. Thanks for checking out the show. I'm just popping in here to let you know the show also exists in podcast form, which means you can now hear me mispronounce sitar while staring at traffic. It's in all the places: Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon, your cousin Zune. You can also find me on Facebook, where people mostly ignore me or just send memes of Bob Dylan riding a dolphin. And if that's not enough, I've added a comment forum to albumreviewsandyou.com, where you can say nice things like, "You're a genius," or honest things like, "You sound like a guy who used to sell mushrooms at fish shows." Either way, I'm reading it from the bathroom.